It is not that one wishes to be alone. Rather, it is the natural consequence of understanding, of seeing through the layers of conditioning that keep most people tethered to the illusions of society. The more one awakens to the truth, the more difficult it becomes to engage in the games that once seemed important. Small talk feels empty. Gossip feels like noise. The constant struggle for validation, success, and approval appears pointless, a fleeting distraction from something deeper. Most people do not seek truth. They seek comfort. They seek familiarity. They seek confirmation that the way they are living is right, that their beliefs are correct, that their choices are justified. But the moment one steps beyond this, they are no longer a participant in the collective dream. They become an outsider. Not because they have rejected the world, but because the world no longer recognizes them as one of its own. There is an odd paradox in all of this. The one who sees beyond illusion does not judge those who remain asleep. There is no anger, no frustration, no superiority on the understanding. They see why people cling to their beliefs, why they hold on to their routines, why they seek distractions. They understand that most are simply afraid of the unknown, afraid of letting go, afraid of questioning too deeply, for fear that everything they have built their identity upon might crumble. And so, the awakened one moves differently. They do not force their insights upon others, for they know that truth cannot be given, it must be found. They do not try to convince or argue, for they see that most do not want to be freed, they only want to be reassured. This creates a distance. Not an intentional one, but an inevitable one. Friends drift away. Conversations become strained. The connections that once felt natural now feel forced. The more one embraces their own awakening, the more they find themselves standing at the edges of the world, watching as others move through life as if in a dream. There is a temptation to return to the old ways, to try and fit in again, to pretend for the sake of companionship. But once the truth has been seen, it cannot be unseen. There is no going back. It is not that the awakened person does not care for others. On the contrary, they may feel a deeper love, a greater compassion than ever before. But this love is not personal, it is not based on need, expectation, or attachment. It is simply there, flowing like a river, expecting nothing in return. And yet, because this love does not come with conditions, it is often misunderstood. People expect friendship to come with reassurance, with validation, with participation in the collective dream. And when they do not find this, they assume there is something wrong, that the awakened one is cold, distant, or even arrogant. But the truth is far simpler. The awakened one does not reject people, they simply do not pretend. They do not force relationships that feel unnatural. They do not engage in conversations that serve no purpose. They do not entertain drama, conflict, or emotional games. They do not seek company for the sake of avoiding solitude, because to them solitude is not something to be feared. It is not loneliness, it is peace. This is where the great divide occurs. Most people run from themselves. They fill their days with noise, with distractions, with endless activity to avoid sitting in silence with their own thoughts. But the awakened one has no such fear. They have faced the emptiness within and discovered that it is not emptiness at all, but a vast, limitless space of awareness. They are not trying to escape themselves, they have come to know themselves fully. And so they do not chase after people, nor do they need to be chased. They simply are. This existence is foreign to many. It is unsettling to be around someone who does not seek anything from you, who does not need your approval, who does not play by the rules of social engagement. And so, one by one, people drift away. It is not because they dislike the awakened one, but because they do not understand. They do not know how to relate to someone who does not need validation, who does not engage in superficiality, who does not participate in the silent agreement to pretend. And yet, there is a profound beauty in this solitude. It is not isolation, it is a return to something real. It is a stepping away from the noise and into the vastness of existence itself. It is a life lived without pretense, without masks, without the constant pressure to be something for someone else. There may be moments of longing, moments where one wishes they could go back, where the old ways seem tempting for the sake of connection. But deep down, the awakened one knows that such connections would be hollow, built not on truth but on mutual illusion. And so they walk their path alone, not because they have been cast out, but because they have outgrown the need to belong in a world that does not yet understand itself. Most people believe that friendships are formed out of deep connection, shared values, and mutual respect. On the surface, this seems true. But when you begin to look deeper, you start to see that most relationships are built on something far more fragile, shared illusions. People come together not necessarily because they truly understand each other, but because they validate each other's beliefs, reinforce each other's worldviews, and provide distractions from the deeper questions they might not want to face. Human beings are social creatures, but this need for connection often stems from a deeper fear of being alone. People seek friendships to fill space, to avoid silence, to create a sense of belonging in a world that often feels unpredictable and chaotic. They build their relationships on the things they have in common: beliefs, interests, routines, but rarely do they stop to question whether these things have any real substance. Friendships are often based on mutual participation in the same reality, whether that reality is built around work, entertainment, or cultural expectations. When someone begins to wake up from that reality, they no longer fit within the framework that once held their relationships together. A person who starts to see beyond the surface of life, who questions things deeply, who no longer clings to the same attachments, will naturally begin to notice that the connections they once had start to fade. It is not because they have changed in some fundamental way that makes them incapable of love or friendship, but because they no longer share the same illusions that once bound them to others. The conversations that once felt engaging now seem repetitive. The dramas that once seemed significant now appear trivial. The endless discussions about status, success, and external validation lose their grip. Most friendships are not rooted in truth, but in a mutual agreement to keep certain ideas alive. People bond over shared complaints, over gossip, over the struggles they face. They bond over their fears, their desires, their ambitions. But what happens when one person no longer plays that game? What happens when someone stops seeing life as a competition? When they stop believing in the necessity of struggle? When they stop defining themselves through external measures of success? The foundation of those friendships begins to crumble. There is an unspoken rule in human relationships: to belong, you must conform. You must play your part. You must engage in the shared reality that the group has created. If you refuse to participate, if you no longer find meaning in the things that others do, you become an outsider. Not because you have rejected them, but because they no longer know how to relate to you. A person who begins to wake up often finds that they can no longer engage in the same conversations without feeling disconnected. They see that many discussions are simply ways to avoid deeper truths. People talking just to fill silence. People gossiping to avoid looking at their own lives. People complaining about the world without ever questioning their own role in it. And when they stop participating in these patterns, they find themselves alone. This solitude is not necessarily a painful thing. At first it may feel unsettling, because the loss of companionship can feel like a kind of rejection. But over time, it becomes clear that this is not rejection at all. It is simply the natural effect of moving beyond the illusions that once created those connections. Most people want to be heard, but very few want to listen. Most people want support, but very few want to be challenged. They want to be surrounded by those who make them feel comfortable, not those who force them to question themselves. And so, when a person begins to see through the layers of illusion that make up the social world, they stop providing the comfort that others seek. They become something else entirely, not an enemy, not a friend, but something unsettling, something that does not fit into the established roles. This is why those who awaken often find that they have fewer and fewer friends. It is not because they do not love, or because they do not care. It is because they do not pretend. They do not engage in relationships that exist merely to reinforce illusions. They do not provide the false sense of security that many people crave. Instead, they exist in a space of truth, and truth is something that many people find difficult to face. This is not to say that all relationships are meaningless, or that all human connection is based on illusion. There are rare friendships, rare bonds that transcend the usual dynamics of social interaction. These are the relationships built on something deeper than shared beliefs or common interests. They are built on mutual recognition, on a profound understanding that goes beyond words. But these kinds of relationships are rare, and they cannot be forced. They emerge only when both individuals have reached a level of awareness where they no longer need anything from each other, where they are simply present with one another without expectation or